Hi everyone, Sandman here. This video is brought to you by a donation from Glenn, and here's what he has to say. Hi Sandman, I've been hooked on your channel for a while now. I request that you analyze why there's an epidemic of women getting tats and piercings, and you never covered this topic before. I assume that you didn't see the connection between tats and piercings and anything red pill. Maybe because you think it's a generational fashion cycle instead. Maybe you yourself have tats and piercings and see nothing wrong with it. I don't know. Anyway, I'll send you a few links that do seem to draw a connection between tats and piercings and the dysfunctionality of modern women. Whether it be their propensity to get them or to be attracted to men who have them, or both. Maybe you could at least read through a few of those and offer your own take on their points, pros and cons about tattoos and piercings. Well, Glenn, thanks for your donation and topic that I should have covered a long time ago. I put a few of the links you sent me in the description so people can check them out for themselves. Tattoos and piercings were once upon a time the territory of sailors, gamblers, mobsters, and prostitutes, as well as other marginalized members of society. It wasn't until recently in the last 10 to 15 years that we saw the rise and proliferation of tattoo culture everywhere. With regards to piercings, I was in my teens in high school when they actually started to become popular, and it was usually the stoner sluts that were getting belly, tongue, and nose piercings. My impression is they were doing it because their boyfriends were getting eyebrow earrings and the ones in their ears. I got the feeling that they were complimenting the appearance of their boyfriends more, or trying to attract bad boys with body piercings. The piercing culture was accepted and their parents seemed to allow them to get them because it wasn't seen as a permanent mistake and the piercings could be removed at any time without any real damage to their bodies. But tattoos are a far different thing and they can't be removed as easily or as cheaply. My impression is that women today cover themselves in tattoos as a sort of mating call to attract men with tattoos, and they want to play the role of the female chameleon. It's as simple as that. Or perhaps they're doing it to fit in socially with other women. Some of the restaurants and bars that I go to, I often see women with tattoos. Just for the record, I don't have any tattoos or piercings, and don't find them very attractive unless they're full arm sleeves and very artistically done. But even then, I know that in 5 to 10 short years, they will make a woman age horribly, and for me, they're kind of a fetish thing. I was attracted to one woman that had probably 50 tattoos, but not for the tattoos, but for her. Every time I saw a new tattoo on her body, I was increasingly disappointed. She even put a tacky one on herself saying that she would have $1 million by the age of 25, and ironically 25 came and went and the tattoo is still there, and the money wasn't. Then she changed the story and said that all the help that she gave to people in her life through good deeds amounted to $1 million by the time she reached that age. It was funny watching her change her story. You're right, Glenn, the tattoos are reaching epidemic proportions. I also don't see as many piercings as I once did. But now let me look at the links that you sent me. The first one is called Female Attention-Seeking Behavior versus Sustainability for a Relationship. And it asks the question, are women with tattoos relationship material? If a woman is covered in tattoos, it's also a way to show off her status with regards to the amount of money that she spent on them in the first place. She's telling people that she's wealthy enough to spend thousands of dollars on inking up her body. It's like women that wear fake nails. They're signaling to the world that they don't have to work very hard or do any forms of manual labor. The blog you sent me says to have as much sex as you want with 20-something-year-old women with great-looking tattoos, but don't expect them to look good at the age of 30 or 40. This is obvious to most men, but not so obvious to women because they tend to be terrible at long-term planning. They can't see themselves at 30 or 40 with their saggy bits. As a man going his own way, I'm not into long-term relationships, and this blog suggests that women with tattoos make poor long-term dating prospects, because they won't be as attractive later on in life, and that women with tattoos are less mentally stable than ones without. The next link I'm going to share is to an article called Science Confirms Tattooed Women Are Indeed Broken, from The Return of Kings. According to that article, women with tattoos are sluttier with more sexual partners, and that also appears to be true. Besides the science, isn't it obvious that if your body is covered in tattoos and you're a woman, the only way to get attention for them is to take off your clothing? The Haywood 2012 study from the National Institute of Health says that women with tattoos initiate sex earlier, have more sex, and also tend to have more unprotected sex if they're teenagers. The second claim in the Return of King articles is that women with tattoos lack foresight because they're far more impulsive and into risk-taking behaviors. That could be true because they aren't looking at how their bodies will age, and the article also says that women with tattoos seem to have lower IQ levels. The third point I'll just read, so here it goes, and I quote, "Science says those with tattoos are hostile and prone to delinquent behavior. Psychiatric patients with tattoos are much more likely to suffer from antisocial personality disorder and have an increased likelihood of having previously suffered from sexual abuse, abused substances, or even attempted suicide. Violence was associated with females having body piercings." Unquote. It's hard to debate against scientific facts. All three of these things I mentioned point to people with issues, hence why prostitutes, gangsters, and sailors had tattoos in the past. They were groups with so-called issues, so covering themselves in tattoos was a way to show the world that they were tough if they were men, or sexy if they were women, and that they weren't socially accepted, so body modification might have actually been a mating call of the alienated groups in our society. Today, however, women also get tattoos because they're fashionable, and I've actually met a couple of classy women with tattoos, and you can see their tattoos are classy designs because they themselves are artists, hairstylists, or other creative professionals. I find that people that get tattoos and know about good design don't actually impulsively get tattoos. They tend to think of them as design elements that complement a certain part of their body. What I'm increasingly seeing is women covering their hands and necks with tattoos in the porn business, and trends that are found there will eventually make their way into the mainstream. The problem with that is that many companies won't hire people with visible tattoos, or at least so I thought. Now I'm starting to see increasingly upscale restaurants with waitstaff covered in tattoos and showing them off. How badass can you be if your job involves serving pate and caviar? Women have always used clothing, jewelry, and makeup to signal youth and sexuality. Now they're using tattoos as well. The difference between old school methods and this new one is the permanent quality of it, and the others were temporary. Women have no clue what they're doing, and they don't understand that the more color they put into their tattoos, the worse off they'll be in the future. They don't seem to understand that it's permanent, and even if they try to remove them with expensive lasers, the outline will always remain, and they will never get rid of it completely. Just ask Angelina Jolie on her left arm. She felt so bad about the removal, and it was probably the best that money could buy. She put another tattoo over the area where she had the first one removed because she wasn't happy with the results, probably. I wouldn't buy into the hype that tattoo removal is all that it's cracked up to be. There will be a lot of obese cat ladies out there with stretched out tattoos over their cankles and fupas. Making love to them will be like making love to a faded billboard that smells like whiskas and cheese. You'll probably be guy number 100 to basically ride her faded behind. The way I see it, the only reason for a guy to be with a woman with tattoos is for pump and dump because she's signaling to men that she's a slut. There's a good reason why it's called a tramp stamp, because it's common knowledge that women with tattoos are dying to take their clothes off to show them off. Gone are the days when women could strategically position their tattoos on their ankles, on their lower back, or where the sun doesn't shine. One woman I briefly dated put it on the back of her neck so her hair could cover it instead. I bet that she wasn't thinking about the future when she would cut her hair short like all the other old ladies, and suddenly there would be a cute or not so cute looking face looking back at everyone behind her. How classy. In the past, women were under the supervision of men their entire lives. Fathers would pass their daughters off to their husbands when they were basically in their early 20s, and they didn't go to college or to Europe to find themselves and get their complimentary tramp stamp. Instead, they began pooping out babies, and if they didn't, then they were socially isolated. All of the things that were once considered marginal activities are now becoming mainstream. That includes tattoos, piercings, gambling, pornography, as well as prostitution and escorting. These things are all becoming mainstream, while previous generations understood that once your culture begins to accept the unacceptable, it falls into a downward spiral. I haven't even touched upon the health effects of getting tattoos. Everything from allergic skin reactions to higher risks of cancer. According to the research, red ink is the most dangerous. In the United States, the Food and Drug Administration regulates things like vitamins and supplements, but it doesn't regulate tattoo ink. Many tattoos today are done with cheap Chinese ink, and you have no idea what you're putting in your body. As I said earlier, I find some women with tattoos hot if they're actually tastefully done, but they aren't relationship material. They're killing themselves, and it's not my circus and not my monkey. In the past, people didn't live as long as they do today, and there weren't enough prostitutes and criminals to study to see what the exposure of tattoo toxins would be on the human body. Red ink contains mercury sulfide, and that causes problems. There should be a warning on every single tattoo parlor out there stuck on the outside that says tattoo inks are known to cause cancer, especially in sluts. We're putting ink on our bodies, and there are no answers or studies for what it does. The government just looks the other way because they make tax revenue off those businesses, and so what if people are getting infections and potentially dying from tattoos? The tattoo industry is worth over $2 billion in the United States, and the FDA is only now investigating how tattoo ink is broken down inside the body. There are tons of heavy metals like mercury in them, and women are stupid enough to get tons of tattoos. If they aren't thinking about sagging tattoos at the age of 30, are they really going to be thinking about cancer at the age of 40 or 50? All they care about is how good they look today, and nothing else matters. They expect people to save them later on. They will say they weren't warned properly by the Food and Drug Administration and probably sue the government. Women will do whatever it takes to avoid taking responsibility for their choices, and tattoos are no exception. The only way to get a woman to stop inking up is to put warnings on tattoos and make them socially unacceptable, and thus scaring women away from getting them. Then we'll probably see a return to piercings because everything is cyclical, and once her parents hear how bad that tattoos are, they're basically going to warn their kids about it, and they won't be socially acceptable. At the very least, many women will simply get smaller tattoos. We all know that women go crazy and do crazy things to enhance their appearance. I think the craziest thing I've heard women do is injecting motor oil into their own asses to make them bigger and more shapely. I guess they're trying to redefine the term "there's gas coming from my ass." Anyways, that's all I've got to say for today. Thanks again, Glenn, for your donation as well as your topic request. Don't forget to smash the like button and check out the MGTOW mystery link. As for everyone else out there, please follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills. And remember, a red pill a day keeps the cat ladies covered in tattoos away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.